smart media. And yeah, I think for us, we're interested in setting up an R&D and talent office so that we can build a technology and product, and also use it as an outlet to expand into the European market for the next coming 10 years. It looks pretty much interesting for us and for our experience.
I see. What's your first name? Because you have different names. How shall we call you?
We have different names. It's Leroy.
Leroy. Okay.
Oh yeah, that's like my name and surname. And
yeah. I see. You see, like the differences in cultures. We call our names differently. Okay, so Leroy, great. Thank you so much.
Leroy. Yeah, Leroy. That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, great. And my next one to the right is Jose. Jose, please tell us about yourself.
Hello, Svitlana. It's called.
Yes.
It's okay. Sorry, I just joined because I was in another meeting. So this is only about presenting ourselves and the enterprise.
Just tell us about yourself, like one or two sentences, whatever you want to say. It's up to you.
Okay, so I'm Jose. I'm working in Toronto. I'm key account manager in Toronto. A Mexican startup. I was working before Toronto I'm based in Valencia, in Spain. And before that, I was based in Dubai. I was working for the oil and gas industry, in fact. And that's it.
Thank you so much. So we have another Jose here. Or is this you, Jose, entering with the second account?
What's this? Because I was I don't know why. Yeah, but it's me. I don't know why. I need to.
I see. Okay, spotted you. That. I see. Houston, we have a problem. She got us. Like she looked at the same name. Okay, so log out so I will know exactly who's here and who's not. Okay, Gaura, have you said something? A short check-in. Hello.
Hi. Got a bit delayed in joining. Hi everyone. So my name is Gaurav and I work at Cognitensor along with Gajendra. So I believe Gajendra has already given a brief introduction, but just to add, so Cognitensor has a product called decarbonization of digital assets that works on, first of all, assessing and then optimizing the carbon emissions from digital assets such as data centers, cloud assets, etc. So as Gajendra mentioned, we are looking to expand into the German market, understanding the nuances and the differences from where we currently operate. That's mostly in the Indian and Middle East, North Africa market. And then, with your guidance, I'm sure we'll be able to make an impact.
I see. Thank you. Achitra.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Svitlana. I'm sorry, I'm on the road today and I just stopped the car to log into the session and say hello to everyone. So I run a company called Bin Bag Recycling based out of Bangalore, India. We work with companies to help manage their end-of-life electrical and electronic waste, e-waste. And I'm looking forward to the program and learn more from you on the intercultural differences and negotiations.
And how do you pronounce your name correctly?
It is Achitra.
Achitra.
Yeah.
Because where I come from, it's going to be Achitra, and it's
okay.
Has someone said this in front of you? Called you Achitra?
Oh, I have gender problems with my name. I have pronunciation problem with my names because the Chitra word is a very common Indian female name. And many times people think I'm female, especially on emails, people reply to me as Miss, Mrs., something like that. Otherwise, so the pronunciation also, even my last name also is not very common name. So it's even more difficult, but let's not get there.
Yeah. It's that's we're in a international negotiation class here, so therefore we are going to talk about this difference too. Gokmen. You have just logged in. Please tell us about yourself.
Yeah, first of all, sorry for dialing in late. I was running from a meeting. I'm Gökmen. I'm dialing in from Istanbul, Turkey. I'm running a weather intelligence and climate adaptation company. We produce our own weather input, and we provide some services and products that are fed from that input, so that companies in energy, in mobility, in insurance can benefit from weather intelligence, so that they can reduce their damages, costs, and they can increase their safety. So we are working in EMEA for now.
Very interesting. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great. Good to see you. And that's an international group here. So I'm in the right place. But I think we have one gentleman who has logged in and hasn't said anything yet by himself. I think that's I think Desiree Nenergy, someone who's behind that fancy name. Is it a gangster name or something?
Oh, not at all.
Tell me more.
It's actually very Christian, actually.
Tell me.
Okay, I'm Desire. I'm a co-founder of Need Energy. We are helping. We're from Zimbabwe. Yeah, we're helping scale microgrids through the use of AI. I think you've already met my co-founder, Leroy. Yeah.
I see. Leroy is here too. Great. And I see that someone has just logged in also, Gavad Cup. Please also a little check in so we'll know.
Yes, I'm here.
Hi, we can hear you but cannot see you. Now you cannot hear you but can see you.
Yes.
Yes. Oh,
see
fantastic.
me now and you hear me.
Yeah, great. Fantastic. Very nice. Gavad, can you tell us about yourself, your background?
Okay, my name is Mohammed Abdel Gawad. I'm the CEO of Kabmina. Firstly, I was working as a financial auditor in the Egyptian government. And then I changed my career in 2017 and I co-founded Kab. Kab is specialized startup which collects the spent coffee grounds from the coffee shops and using it as a substrate for growing mushroom as a first stage. Beyond all of that, I am a novelist. I am writing novels as a hobby and as like a side job. And that's it.
Okay, yeah, that's quite a lot. Thank you. Would you be so kind to put your name, because I think it's Mohammed, isn't it? Put your first names into to rename yourself.
I think it's Gawad Kab because my name is Mohammed Abdel Jawad. I think I wrote it Gawad Kab, but I think I will change it now. Okay.
Yes, please. And the question to everyone else, you see, it's going to be a cultural communication workshop, meaning that my job is to help you present better, to help you to reach the results, and to help you to be even more successful in the European world and especially in Germany. So this is about culture, this is about communication. So therefore, put your video cameras on, turn your microphones on. I mean, we're going to discuss a lot with each other. You have your experience, so I'm going to present you some knowledge, and you'll be answering and also starting a discussion here. So that's all about exchanging. And therefore, first question also to put your first names like before the firm in front of you, so we'll know exactly how to address you guys. And it's also about networking here, so it's all about communicating with each other. And I see Emmanuel Danzo logging in last. Please tell us about yourself in a brief moment. Little check-in. Everyone's going to talk today. Emmanuel.
Hi, everyone.
Hello.
Yeah, I'm Emmanuel from Ghana. Yes, we have the best jollof in the whole wide world. So I'm representing my country, Ghana. Yes, so in the business side, I'm the business lead for BD Waste. So BD what we do is we translate plastic waste in various communities into a tool for financial inclusion. We make sure that individuals go out, get at their plastic waste, and in turn we give them savings. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much for checking in. That was an important phase, so we'll all understand the rules. Basic rules, by the way, just jump in if you have any questions. And let's talk about cultural differences and what are we doing here. So my name is Svitlana. Now I will be introducing myself too. I'm a negotiation trainer and a lawyer by the background. We do train specialists and private firms and also private equities individuals on negotiating and being successful globally. And yeah, my background is actually from the legal. So I used to be an attorney for the last 10 years, and then I decided to go into the advisory. Then I was working for an international corporation, advising the board and also working with different environments. I was negotiating quite a lot, and in different firms, also in business wise, and also in political careers. And I remember that the more I negotiated, the more I understood that those decisions that people take are deeply rooted with cultural differences. And therefore, the cultural differences, they are like part of those shortcuts that we take and that we have behind our cultures. And I wanted to tell you about this idea that actually we're going to talk not about the stereotypes that we have against the cultures or for the cultures. We're going to talk about the shortcuts. They are also called as automatic reactions, and they are interesting because they have been proved first in the animal world, and now we know exactly that as humans we all have automatic reactions, and they are called fixed action patterns or the shortcuts, in a short way of saying. But let me first tell you a story. A turkey. An animal turkey is a good mother. It's loving, it's attentive, it is protective. Most of its time it's spending by grooming, warming, nursing its children, and it's warming the children under the body of the mother. And all this behavior is triggered by one thing, or one thing only, and it's the sound of the young turkey saying chirp chirp. You know, maybe you've had the chickens or you've been to the village of your grandmother or somewhere. Maybe you've seen those little animals making the sound. So obviously this sound, and only this sound, is triggering all the mothering experience and behavior by the mother. So what did etymologists do? They have done a following experiment. They would examine the behavior by the mother by replacing a child and putting some other objects. What they did put an animal that is a natural enemy of the turkey into the cage to the turkey, and looked at the reaction. The reaction was adequate. It was kicking, it was scratching, it was pecking, it was attacking an animal. And it was, by the way, it was a skunk, and it was a dummy of a skunk. So the reaction was triggered, but they understood, okay, that's adequate because that's how animals would address that. But the adequate reaction changed drastically as soon as this skunk, the natural enemy of a turkey, was making the sound of a young turkey, this chirp chirp signal. And as soon as this dummy of a skunk was making the sound, the turkey was actually mothering this enemy. Turned out, why am I telling you this? That obviously as a result, we now understand that those automatic reactions as mothering are triggered by the signals like a chirp chirp, and first they were proven by the etymologists in the animal world. Now we know exactly that as humans we work in exactly the same way. So there were not stereotypes. We are talking about the fixed automatic reactions. They are proved. You can Google that. That's a huge body of a behavior sets that we have that are regular, that are mechanical, that are triggered by feeling, seeing, or hearing something, and they make us to run automatic reactions in the same form, in the same order. meaning that we all have the shortcuts, we all will have some specific reactions, and it's better to know what triggers do I have, what triggers do the others have, and to use them to your advantage. Okay? Now a little introduction to the woman who came up with this idea of that I'm going to represent to you. And this is Erin Mayer. She's a professor at the university, at the business school outside of Paris. And she has presented an extensive research from many different cultures, putting that together and representing a roadmap. So after this seminar, you're going to have a roadmap. How shall you pitch? How shall you communicate, and how shall you make sure that the decision is made in a specific way that you liked? So let's start with culture of communication, and yeah, let's look how it looks like. So by taking the extensive research, we have understood that obviously there are two differences, two extremes of talking and communicating in different ways, meaning that there are cultures that communicate in a low context, meaning they share little body of communication, and the good communication there is understood as something that is precise, simple, clear, and to the point. These are, for example, such cultures as US, Australia, Canada, Netherlands. You see Germany on that side. We are going to get there. So obviously in those cultures, you get to the point, you are very precise, the language is rather plain, and the repetition is allowed. So they will rather tell you what they're going to tell you, prepare you, then they will tell you that, and then they will summarize what they have just told you. Okay, so that's the low context cultures. On the other extreme, as you see, there is a high context cultures. Meaning that good communication, stressing on good communication, is understood in those cultures such as Japan, Korea, Indonesia, Kenya, Saudi Arabia, but also India and vast majority of African cultures. The good communication is rather layered. It is sophisticated. There are many layers that the message is sent on different levels too. People will be reading between the lines and also coding their message between the lines. And the message itself will be rather vague. It will be sent on different levels, meaning on body language, on context, on time, like spent, like put in different chunks throughout the time. It might be understated or sometimes even humorous, but it's still going to be the same message, but it's the way there is going to be different. Okay. Now, why am I presenting that to you? Because this is rather the roadmap that you're going to see. And now I would like you to find more or less either your country. Some of your countries are not going to be there because that's, I mean, like there's not too much space on the slide, but locate more or less your culture or your region that is stated there. And you've got to understand first, where is your culture? Where is your background? And then you've got to understand how shall you adjust depending on who are you going to talk to. Because, for example, I'm originally from Ukraine, by the way. I think I forgot to tell you that. So I'm originally from Ukraine, and I'll be locating myself actually between Peru and Russia, because it's my region that is close to Russia. And if I'm talking to Germany, to Germans, then I'm going to obviously there are the differences that obviously my culture has got like more layered and more high context communication, and Germans will be more strict and direct to the point. Okay. Do we have any questions so far? No, I see.
No. Okay.
Okay, great. So this is important to understand that obviously there are two differences. Let me put it into different, yeah, by the way, the Germany. So obviously here you've got to understand that obviously most of, I've looked up at your pitches and seen that most of you guys will be rather on the high context communication. Obviously, you've got to understand that if Germany is on the left side, on low context, your message has got to be more simple, more precise, more clear to the point, because those people, they are not primed, they are not taught by the culture to see between the lines, and they are not going to look into your eyes specifically. They are not going to imply something in your message. So this is how we need to adjust and change. And let me put it into a different perspective. So obviously in a culture like Germany, they say that the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line, meaning that's a saying, meaning that if they want you to come from a point A to point B, if you want to tell them a story, it's got to be crisp. So for example, point A to point B, you want to tell them a story, and this is how your story should look like. It's a straight line, it's direct, it's just no detours. You've got to have to send your message directly, because otherwise they are not going to listen to you. Okay. In mixed communication cultures, by the way, the majority of the cultures in Europe, they are mixed communication. And we are not talking about Germany because this is the first message that you're going to start with. But if you go to France, if you go to Spain, Italy, or Austria, because I'm logging in right now from Austria, then you're going to have a mixed communication, meaning that your way of communicating and taking a person from A to B, for example, selling a product or convincing them, is going to look a little bit like a detour, because it's not going to be as direct, but you're going to tell them, oh, well, okay, let's talk about something else, and then you'll be taking the line like this. So, for example, if you are about to raise your prices in Germany, then Germans will rather clearly tell you, well, this will work, or this will not work. So that would be the Germany. If you're going to raise your prices in Spain, for example, then the answer will be more or less like, well, let me take these prices to my CFO and talk to him and see what can we negotiate. So the line, they will still be taking you from A to B. They will still send you the message, but the way there, it's going to be different. Okay. Any questions so far?
Nope.
Okay. Let's go to the high context cultures. High context cultures, they are the decision-making point, the decision-making process is going to look very different from the others, meaning that in countries such as vast majority of Africa, by the research proven, Saudi Arabia, Japan, China, vast majority of Asian countries, and South American countries, the decision-making point and the answering to the question, if you want to raise the prices, is going to be more or less like roundabout. So indeed, they will be taking a point from A to B, but the way it's going to look like that, they will kind of go there and then take a detour and detour and detour. And for example, if you will want to raise the prices in Japan, the answer will look more or less like that. So, oh yes, the prices. Yeah, I wanted to talk to you about that. And you know, we have been working since 20 years together, and it's going to be a detour. And our president, Mr. Yamamoto, was just saying the other day how much he was enjoying the communication. Another detour, and you know, Japan is at the moment at the severe recession. Another detour. There are some cutting budgets. It is getting very hard to calculate the cash flow. I'm sure you have similar problems, and please keep in touch with me if you have some other ideas. And by the way, Mr. Yamamoto also told us that he enjoyed visiting your offices the other time, and he was talking very warmly about that meeting. So as you see, the way there, it's going to be very different. Why am I telling you this? Because there are differences and there are ways of getting there, and we come from different cultures, and we really need to understand how shall we adjust and what shall we do. And therefore, I'd like to start a discussion and to start talking about different categories of communicating. And therefore, I'd like to talk about the negatives, because now you know how to what are the positives from the sides, but there are also ups and downs in any communication, and you come from a different backgrounds, and therefore I'd like to ask you to communicate in different ways and to talk about different categories. So now I have put you in different groups, and for example, Amo, Desiree, Emmanuel, Gaurav, Mohammed, and Gajendra, I would like to ask you to take a moment to go into the group and talk about disadvantages of communication in high context, meaning if you are talking between the lines, or if people are talking between the lines, sending the messages and implying them, expecting the others to read the air, what are the downsides? What are the disadvantages? Okay, you will be in the room 1. And in the room number 2, Jose. Jose is still logged in with 2 different names.
Yeah, I'm the one that says Toronto. The other one, I don't know.
Oh, we have a different Jose just sitting in at a place.
Where is the other one? Yeah, the one that says Otter.
Yes.
It's because well, yesterday we received the notes from another, another speaker that was using Otter to make the notes of the meeting. So I just click on that, I register, and now it's coming with me to every meeting since this morning. So yes, I just configure now so that it doesn't happen again. But yeah, the hostess Otter, it's an AI. In fact, it's not a person.
Okay. Great. Then let's just say that, okay, you have like 2 personalities here. I'm going to to count you as one still. So Mohammed, Leroy, Jose, Gökmen, and Chitra, please talk about disadvantages in low context communication cultures. You put yourself into the culture of Germans, of German culture, of low context communication, and talk about disadvantages. What might happen if you talk just too directly, if it's just to the point. I'll give you 5 minutes, and then we'll join the group and have a little discussion on what shall we do here. Okay?
Okay.
Great. So you go into different rooms. We might be ghosting around and listening, spying on you a little bit. Don't be intimidated. And see you in 5 minutes. Amo, Chitra, are you with us?
Yes, I am, Svitlana, but I am, as I said, I'm on the road. I'm just listening in.
So you're listening, you're not participating. I see, okay. And Amo...
A little difficult for me because I'm driving.
Yeah, but it would be good for you to also join the room, because you'll see then what do people have to talk about. Amo, are you with us?
I will text him directly.
Yes, please. And I wanted to take... So I'm going to go into the rooms and also listen a little bit to the people, and I'll be back, okay? Do you want to stop the recording? Pause the recording for now?
Yes.
This meeting is being recorded.
Hello, welcome back. I've sneaked into some rooms and seen that there was some discussion. Going on. So let's start with the high context communication and the disadvantages of it. Disadvantages of being too layered, too sophisticated, too sending too many messages in between, or talking with our eyes. We had Desire, Emmanuel, Gajitra, Gaurao, Mohammed, and Chitra. Tell us, what are the disadvantages of being too high of a context, setting of too many messages?
Right. So Desire is the elected representative from our group. So Desire, please, if you could put across the points.
Yes, please.
Okay, cool. Well, I think we came up with about 4 points. We're about to come up with the 5th one, but time ran out, so I think we would have had the 5th one.
Yeah, we've got to be to the point,
So I think wasting time in meetings, I guess, I think in high context, sometimes we end up dwelling on things that might not matter in some instances. And then there is also the second one, which is, it comes with a lot of bureaucracy. The chain of command is usually pretty thick and long, and yeah, it's pretty draining too. I think there's also a mention of there tends to be one person who probably are communicating within a company, and you are probably making inroads with them, and sometimes if they leave that company, you lose a lot of groundwork. So yeah, that we try to put it in as a point to say, when personality changes, you have to start all over again, because of, I think it slightly falls under bureaucracy too, but yeah, it's 4 points. And then the fourth one was there tends to be a lot of bootlicking in these kind of setups. You are trying to impress, or you go out of your way to try and impress, and you have to read too much of what they like or what they do, which sometimes has nothing to do with actually what you're offering, but you have to read the room and try and manage the situation. Yeah. So I think those were 4 points.
So bureaucracy, wasting of time, also time consuming. It takes the effort, and people actually need to understand you, need to want to understand you between the lines, and be trimmed for that. I mean, be prepared and be taking, that takes some resources. Great, thank you. Room number 2, Amo, Gökmen, Jose, Leroy, and Mohammed. You were talking about the disadvantages of clear communication, low context. What are the disadvantages, please?
So I'll go. Sounds
Yes,
okay. Yeah. Yeah. We were mainly discussing a couple of things. Both, two of them are the outstanding ones. The first one maybe as follows: if you go with a low context conversation in a business meeting, it's getting harder to bond with the potential, let's say, customers, making a connection between you, because sales about listening rather than speaking. So if you listen less, then there are less grounds that you can share commonly. Let's say the first one is this one, and the second one is linked to the first one as well. It is maybe it's sort of putting a barrier to emotional transfer, as well as it may lead to some misunderstandings. If you go straight to the point in some cases, due to some cultural differences, if with no chit chat, with no, daily speaking, if you go straight to the point, maybe you can misunderstand the other one, or you can fail to transfer the feelings sufficiently.
As you summarized, we've got to sell ourselves at some point. Is it our product? Is it ourselves? Is this our personality? But we need to deliver a message on the other side. And if we lack in relationship, and you'll know it from negotiation, it's the better you have, the more relationship you have, the better is your result. And you might harm yourself and harm your performance by breaking by not creating a relationship. So that's important part. And by being too direct, too honest, you might be harming it, or not creating it at the time and point that you wish. And I have one question to you, and this is a question regarding what do you think, where will be most misunderstandings? Between which cultures will most understanding arise? Is it going to be between low context and low context? Between low context and high context, or high context and high context? Just shout out.
I think low context and high context.
High context and what?
And low context.
High context and low. Okay.
Maybe.
What do others think?
I would actually say maybe high context and high context, the third option.
Why?
Because they're both trying to put their version and their practice of things, the way they want to do. There may be some gaps that arise.
Yes, absolutely correct. Because between high context and high context cultures, they will be talking between the lines, but no one knows exactly whether it's going to be exactly the same lines, and are they going to send exactly the same messages. Because if you look at the chart that I have presented for you in front of you before, the high context countries on the right side, they tend to have a big, large body of history and to share it. Also very different culture and very different approach to the others. China, Japan, India, Saudi Arabia, those cultures they are quite, let's put it in positive way, they have a huge history behind them, and therefore in the monogenic society, it's way easier to send a message because they have this history, they share this background, they don't need to talk that explicitly because they have it, they know it already, that's implied, therefore they imply the message between the lines. And if you look at the low context countries, US, Canada, Australia, those are the melting pots. They are relatively young cultures, and they understood if everyone is coming from everywhere, sending the messages between the lines, we are not going to get anywhere. So they understood, okay, we need to be to the point, literal and clear and understandable in order to get somewhere. So if you look again at Germany, and we still need to, and want to have the best advantage in Germany, then we'll see that in Germany, we will need to adjust. Most of us, including myself, by the way, we come from the high context culture, meaning that we will be implying the message. We will be expecting the message between the lines, but sometimes it is just not there. So don't spend the time, don't just use the time for delivering the message by understanding that speech is there for information. You've got to inform. So therefore, facts first. You've got to stick to agenda, and always, by the way, to have an agenda, because it gives the outline gives more comfort to your interlocutor, and your counterpart will feel more comfortable with you and therefore rather like you and your product. You've got to choose truth over diplomacy, and you've got to be polite but still direct in the same time. I know it's sometimes a lot, but it just helps you. And then you will need to discuss one thing at a time, by the way. Never mix up, because people might be confused, and therefore start with one thing, finish this thing, and then go to another level. Now, I have been talking a lot about, or we have been talking a lot about differences between the cultures, but sometimes the culture differs strongly within the country and also within the organization. And sometimes people really, and now we go from the culture to individual, that individuals sometimes choose to speak in the high context, implying the message, but still not directing it. So let me just give you a practical example. Two co-workers, and she says to him, let's call her Sandra, and she says to him, well, I'm not sure this will work. A typical, very typical thing that you might hear in working context, that people actually just imply something, but you don't know exactly what it means. And to have it here, it might mean that, well, she doesn't like the idea. Maybe it also means she likes it, but her colleagues might not. Maybe it means it might work, but not this way. Or she's not convinced yet, I shall continue. Or I should drop it, or I will really annoy her. Different contexts, different things that might come out just of one sentence, and maybe she meant something completely different that he did not, that didn't occur to him. So what shall we answer to that? If you hear something like this, it's always best to acknowledge that and say something like, well, I can see some ways this might not work. So you'll give a confirmation to people, and then ask a question. Would you say more about it, please? What exactly makes it uncomfortable for you? In this way, you will open up a conversation and understand more clearly what it is about. Always, always, always end with an open-end question, such as why, where, how, in order to open up a conversation and get information on the table. Okay? Any questions so far?
Nope.
No? Okay. Let's move then to pitching, because you will need to persuade. Since you want to be successful in Germany and Europe, you want your message to be delivered on time. You want your message to be understood. And how shall you persuade? Because persuasion also works differently. Look at this chart again, and you'll see here different cultures of persuasion, and understand that obviously In principles first cultures, such as Italy, France, and Spain, and Germany leans, by the way, more to the principles first cultures. You've got to talk about theory first. You've got to explain why you're there, who you are, what's your credentials, why you're an expert in what you are doing. And then as a second, you'll be presenting the fact, the statement, and the opinion in the end. By the contrast, in application first countries such as Canada, Australia, or US, you've got to explain the application, the facts, the statements, the opinion first. First, you will need to explain why they need your product and what they get it from. And then you will explain why you're an expert on it, meaning that there will be less theory and the discussion will be also less. So people will be denying and avoiding the philosophical discussion, which is in Germany, by the way, part of selling. Meaning that if they want to talk to you, that if they talk to you, if I discuss about it, it's good. Meaning, let me put it in different terms. In principles first cultures, by the way, in Germany, we all know that the most important statement in an expert opinion is going to be at the end. It's going to be a summary. First, it will explain you what is the question, then it will tell you how they got there, describe all the process, and in the end, there will be a summary. In US, Canada, or Australia, in application first countries, it will be up on top. I mean, this summary that we usually have in Germany at the end, it's going to be on top. Now, understanding how they summarize, that's okay, but how shall you present? Meaning that if you are going to have a pitch in Germany, you better lay out your experience and explain why you're an expert. And after that, you will gain trust and people will be listening to you. Meaning that your pitch is going to start with your experience, like mine started here, and then you will be moving straight forward to the discussion like I'm doing here right now. In application first countries, it's completely different. If you are starting a pitch in the US or Canada, where explaining why you're an expert, you might be losing the attention of people, and that's the hardest part. So therefore, to start with the most important statement in the beginning, and therefore, since we want to concentrate on Germany, how shall we persuade there? Meaning we need to lay out our credentials, saying why we are experts. We need to put the conclusion after. We need to confront and to start a discussion, because discussions are good. Sometimes people will not even willingly, but sometimes they talk in a way that they will put your product in a specific perspective. Sometimes it's uncomfortable. It doesn't give comfort to you if people are discussing it, actually putting it in different perspectives, but it is good in this culture. Meaning that also popular question that you've got to prepare when pitching, when preparing for convincing people is why. They will be asking you, why is this important? Why are you the person for me? Why shall I buy your product? This why is the most important question that you've got to prepare. Okay? Do you have any questions here?
Nothing from my side.
Okay, great. Yes.
Hi, Svitlana, Gaurav this side. So, confrontation, if you could just elaborate a bit more, like, is it on a particular topic, or where would it be okay?
What culture do you mean right now?
For the German culture, like for Germany specifically.
Yes.
So would the confrontation be okay there?
Confrontation. Yes. It means the rather negative feedback that Germany is pretty comfortable about. Therefore, confronting and addressing is rather openly. Okay, I would not do it in the first meeting, but I would prepare for confrontation, by the way. Oh, yes, that's a good question. On your side, I would be preparing for that. And this is part of this discussion and confrontations, meaning that they will be just telling you that. Sometimes it really does feels like you are being put down by such a direct feedback, or it feels like a slap a little bit, but don't take it personally. It's just literal, and just take it as it is, and try to learn from it, because they will be giving you direct feedback, and this is way it saves you time. As we were talking about this, about the disadvantages of high context communication, It just, if you're talking in high context, you need time, and in business context, you often don't need time. So just take it as it is, learn from it, and be grateful for the feedback that they will give you.
Got it.
Okay. Some other questions?
No, not at this time. Thank you.
Not at this time. Okay. Another thing. So we have been talking about culture, communication, meaning we all are communicating. Soft skills are this hard to learn because this is a part of lived life, but still we need to put it in the perspective of profession. We have been talked about how shall we communicate and address people and understand whether you imply messages or be direct. Now we learned that obviously by being direct, you also need to make your pitches in a way that you lay out the credential first, give them many facts, many statements and opinions in the beginning, so people will have an opinion and build a discussion out of that. And now let's say you have been to the pitch, you have pitched, and people say, well, that's okay, let's keep in touch, or we'll be in touch. Meaning you still don't know what is the answer and how shall we make them to make the decision that we want to. So how will decision will be made? And here's another thing, another extreme also on two parts, that the decisions are made in different cultures differently. Meaning that a consensual decision on the left side, where Germany tends to, is going to be more concentrated on a process. It's going to be implemented, and the consensual decision means that the decision is going to be made by the group. They will be making sure that everyone is aligned, that they will discuss with everyone, and everyone has got the message. Okay, it's completely different way of understanding from the other side, from the top down, because in top down cultures such as India, China, vast majority of African cultures, and also South European countries, there will be decisions that are made top down, meaning by the boss. So the boss is usually a strong person who's leading up from in front in those cultures, and therefore this person the boss is going to make a decision, meaning there will be less decisions, and you've got to prepare for that. So for example, if Germany is leading to consensual decisions, it's going to take them longer than a decision takes in China or in African countries. Okay. And let's look again at the cultures. So we again are talking about Germany here. And let's put it into different perspective. How shall we understand when a decision is going to be made? How shall we make the follow-ups and also expect them to make decisions? In Germany, because that's a rather consensual decision-making country, the process is going to look like that. There will be a discussion again. If you remember, discussion is good. You want to start a discussion, and the decision-making process is going to be like a curve. So it's not a directest way. As I told you, first communication is like the directest way, but in decision-making process is going to be like loops. They will be talking to people. There will be more meetings. There will be more calls. You will be taking into account many more loops than it is in different cultures. But at some point, after they have alignment of majority, they will be making a decision. Making decision is made, that's it, that's a decision, and then they will be implementing. And implementation is rather shorter period. It's going to be mechanical, and it's going to be just done, meaning there will be no discussion. No, please remember that. If you are from a different culture, if you tend to expect a decision from a boss, and you want a decision from person who's from Germany or Austria or France, you obviously will need to understand that there will be more meetings, and the implementation will be short and no discussion allowed anymore. After decision making, that's it. If you want to reopen the discussion, you might frustrate people. That's a big risk that you want to take. Okay, and it just in very big now I forgot the word. It's a very small examples that rare examples, let's put it this way, that you can go back from the implementation phase to the discussion. Okay, try to discuss everything up until decision. Don't wait till you will have a decision. Any questions here? Suggestions, ideas? I might understand that you have some ideas of previous discussions and decision-making processes. But okay, let's go. Let's see it in difference. How does it look like with the top-down decision-making processes? So in a culture, for example, as Russia, or in the culture of African American cultures, then African cultures, and American too, by the way, then the decision will be made by the boss usually, and discussion that goes before that is going to be also with meetings, with loops, but it's going to be way shorter. The discussion is going to be shorter. They will be making a decision, and it's going to be called a best viable solution for this now, for this situation now. So decision is made, it's okay, that's a viable solution. And after that, there will be the longer implementation period that allows discussion, that will be waiving the information again, and they will be trying to understand it more better. Therefore, the best viable solution will be adopted. In a top-down discussion, decision cultures, it is allowed to readdress the numbers. It is allowed to adjust to the numbers, and also it is implied to adjust to the numbers. Therefore, in Germany, that is rather consensual decision-making process. Expect more meetings and more discussions. I have clients from Ukraine, and they come to Europe and they say, well, everything takes so long. And it's not because the processes are longer, it's because decision-making process is just longer in the heads of in the brains of the people, in the expectations mode. And it just means that there will be more meetings, more discussions, meaning also that you've got to reply to those meetings. You've got to answer to those emails. And even though it feels not necessary, you've got to demonstrate commitment throughout the process. It is going to be the process. They're going to check you on the process, and they are going to look at this whole performance in the time frame, meaning that if you are on time, are you on time? Are you not on time? How quickly are you going to respond to the email? Are you going to say, yes, I got the message and I will get back to you? Or are you not responding for a week and then just go back with a huge answer? You've got to invest into relationships. This is the part where we said that low context communication cultures as Germany, yes, it is a low context. It is clear, crisp, understandable. And we have a feeling that that the relationship is going to be harmed by that. But especially if you're making decisions in these processes, and you'll understand throughout the time, they will be investing into relationships and they will watch you clearly. And it's all about the process here. So, are there any questions?
That Germany is not in the place I thought they would be, I thought that there would be more, I don't know, top down, more application first, and more low context.
Yeah. You see? That's thank you very much, Jose, because the expectations, the experiences that we have, it's just one part of the perspective that we have experienced. But then if we see this whole range, then we'll understand it's very important to understand where you are and where your counterpart is. Because if you are talking to Germany, it's going to be way more clear than it is in Japan. Just a different way of perspective, yeah. Someone else?
One question coming to mind, Svitlana. So let's say, for example, that we have a prospective customer as a German company, but the person who is on the other side of table is from a nationality that is on the other side of the spectrum. So would that person have been ingrained with the German kind of values, or would they still be more according to their own culture?
So let me summarize it for everyone else. That the question is, you have someone on the other side who is from a different culture, and your question is whether you should listen carefully to this individual, or shall you imply that if he comes from Germany, then he's got to be part of this German
Yeah, basically, right.
Okay. So I would also suggest this preparation is a guideline. It's a roadmap, meaning that I'm giving you the roadmap, and you are navigating, because you know this is the big road, this is another big road, and this is like I should keep off the big mountains and the huge rocks. Okay, so but it always is important to listen to the individual, because individual communication might change. But keep in mind, I mean, this roadmap is like it's a background for you, so you'll be preparing for those people. Of course, this is a part of preparation, and we're talking about negotiation in intercultural environment, meaning that 80% of your result are in the preparation, meaning this part that I'm preparing you right now, you will have this imprint, but still listen carefully what kind of negotiation, what kind of communication do they choose. Are they strict to the point, or do they like to send you a message in between the lines? And then you adjust to that, okay? Always individual before the general. Okay?
Definitely. Great, thank you for that.
Great, you're welcome. I see that we have run out of the time, and I would like to summarize that these are the slides that you might want to have with you. I only have another thing that we'll like to ask you for the evaluation of the seminar. So if you take 2 minutes of your time, it would be great. I'll be posting that into the group. Please open the form and fill in, and I'll be happy to answer the questions. So if you have any questions after that, I'm staying here, and you can also ask your specific questions.
Good.
Svitlana, this is Chitra, and I have a question.
Yes.
It's more specific to the pitch that we were talking about, you know,
yeah,
saying establish yourself as an expert, or say who you are, right? First, because typically we are told in the pitch deck, and within the first 1 minute, say, what do you do, right? So I mean, the question is very specific. So when I'm pitching in Germany, should we put the team first and talk about who I am and why we are, you know, an expert to talk about this subject, which in our case is electronic waste?
Yeah,
is that the way?
Thank you very much for this question, because yes, we're taking this to another level. So right now we have been talking about the basic differences, meaning that you have this in background, and then now we talk about pitching and delivering the message, meaning that this whole pitching culture is more coming from the US, and since we are since we are turning into this mode of since we need to convince people in a shorter period of time than we used to, like 10 years ago.
Yes.
I would also tend to this kind of American culture of saying exactly in the beginning, what am I going to give you by the value? But it should not be just the only one. It should not be exactly like it is in the US, because, you know, the US American persuasion is presenting the facts just later on. But I would mix it up and say, okay, I will be delivering the value, this unique sales proposition that I'm having you. I will be giving you the most important fact upfront, but still explain to you why am I an expert. This would be the mix of it. Therefore, just explain. And what we often did in the pitches, actually, we also made it in the US American way and style, like delivering in one, because you sometimes have like 30 seconds, a minute, maybe 2.
Yeah.
Therefore, first, the most important message, I have a slide explaining why you're an expert. What are the expertise? What is the reasoning? What is the theoretical background? Because your people will be thinking in those patterns.
So to summarize, so let's say I establish who I am and what I've been doing for this many years, and what is the insight that I bring to this field right, to talk to you with a problem and a solution, right? So it's having spent time in the industry and in a way establish your credibility and then say, okay, this is the insight I have about this market. Is that the logical flow? To quickly also say,
in your perspective, I will be telling, hello, this is my USP. This is what I'm bringing for. I'm standing for this product. This is it, like shortly represented. I'm representing it because I'm an expert, implying that I have experience in this field. I have an education. I have a team. I have been working on this, and I have an extensive background on that. So giving an expert and then explaining why this is going to work. Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I'm sorry, I have been not able to participate today. It's just caught me in a bad day.
Well, I heard you that you have been participating in the discussion a little bit, so that's good. But let's ask the others. How do you have any questions so far? And yeah, if you're finished. Yes, Leroy.
I have an add-on to Chitra. Like remember last week when we met Andreas from Ionesis, when he had to actually raise money from like German family offices or the old school kind of. So I think probably the old school kind of people, there will be maybe a need for you to really put it across your experience, right? Then probably when you meet people in like Metropolitan, Frankfurt, Munich, Berlin, that have a strong VC culture, maybe we can adopt the American way of doing things.
It depends on the people, absolutely. That's the lovely answer by any lawyer. If they don't know the answer, they will tell you it depends, and then they will explain to you. And it unfortunately it does depend on with the cultures. It depends on the audience, absolutely. If you pitch to people that don't have much time, and especially, I mean, we all tend to not have much time. We need to make decisions very quickly, and I will definitely put the most important message up front. And then have a preparation and have a in my backhand the prepared slides to explain to you when the expert's opinion and the expert's background is going to come up. So you'll be prepared for that. Okay. Any other questions? I see some thumbs up. Other questions, maybe? If you're finished with filling in the form, you might have something. If not, then I would like to thank you for your time, and I hope that you got some valuable inputs from here. We tried to keep it as simple as possible, so you'll have a little picture in your mind. You'll have the recording of this video to watch for your private purposes, and also the slides. So you'll take a look at that. If there are no questions, then I'd like to say thank you for your time, and also thank you for NPACT for organizing that and providing this value.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Great, thank you, Svitlana. It was a really nice interactive session. Definitely learned some things.
Yes.
Thank you.
Keep in touch, connect.
Thank you so much, Svitlana.
Thank you.
It's very impactful.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
Great, thank you.